Hello and welcome to the Coles Express NBL1 Show. We are back for 2022. Great to have your company. My name is Megan Hustwaite. My teammate is Pete Hooley. Great to see you again, Hools. NBL1 is back, baby.
Well, it is, and we're just a few weeks away from getting everyone playing, and I'm looking forward to it. We've already had some big performances, and they're only going to get bigger from here.
And we've got a new conference this year. We are officially nationwide.
Well, we are, and then we're looking forward to the end. I know it's early, but right at the end, we're going to get that national playoff that everyone can't wait for, and that's going to be truly an incredible experience.
Because we didn't have it last year, of course, because of COVID and lockdowns around the country. So how exciting is that going to be when we do get there, because we have conferences right around Australia?
It's going to be huge. I mean, a lot of teams right now are just focused on winning one game at a time, as the old cliche goes, and then winning your own conference. But once we start to get a little bit closer and how that's all going to work, the national framework, the playoff, whether it's a bit like March Madness, all that, it's going to be a really, really exciting time. Every team's going to have those key players around, and I can't wait for that, but I also can't wait for every single weekend to talk about some stars.
It's going to be so good. So we've got a new conference with NBL1 East, and there's been a lot of player movement, not just within conferences, but we've got players going from one side of the country to the other. So there's going to be a lot to chat about, aside from the performances.
Well, there is, and that's exactly right. Now it is a fully national framework. Players are going to move around states every single year, and I'm looking forward to seeing where players end up, what teams put forward the strongest competition, and we're going to have a lot to talk about throughout this season.
So we've had WNBL has just finished, and NBL is still going, but we'll have an influx of players too once they come back into it, and that's just going to boost the standard of this league.
Oh, it is. I mean, a lot of those players have signed already, so we're going to start to see them as the NBL finishes. If your team doesn't make finals, there's no real off-season for basketball.
No.
We know that. So looking forward to seeing those professionals really get in there and boost the competition.
Well, speaking of professionals getting in there, what are you doing this season, Pete Hooley?
I hung them up. They were hung up when I decided to step away from the NBL, so just doing something different and focusing on my media for a bit and keeping my body healthy, which is nice.
Well, that's a win for us. Are you going to sort of be in the corner of any team or have your eye on any team this season?
I've got a lot of mates that run around across the whole country, so I'll be keeping an eye on them. But if I had to pick one that's around close, Dave Barlow, a good friend of mine from our championship time at Melbourne United, he's coaching and playing a few games as well for Sandringham, so I'll keep a close eye on them.
Can't wait. All right, we've got a massive show coming up today. We're going to head up north and speak to Clara Evans from Newcastle, and then we'll go west and catch up with Jesse Ghee. He's moved from one side of Australia to the other to play NBL1. But let's crack into NBL1 East, because it is here finally. It's kind of the last piece of the jigsaw puzzle of NBL1. And after a long wait that's included a global pandemic, we've finally seen some NBL1 East action, round one at the weekend. And if you are new to the league or you don't know too much about the NBL1 East Conference, this is what we can tell you. It will feature teams from across New South Wales. We've had 2 rounds of the competition so far, and it looks like Albury-Wodonga are benefiting from the switch from south to east in the men's competition, and they've had 2 key players stepping up for them. Oh,
no doubt. When they make the switch from the south, they were very competitive in the NBL1 South, having played, so they're going into the NBL1 East. They'll be expecting some really big things. Import Brandon Jenkins averaging 26.5 points per game, and a player that we got familiar with last year, Dawam, he's switching over from Mount Gambier, also averaging 26.5 points. So those two are going to be really fun to watch, and they're going to put up some big points together, and that place is going to be rocking.
And we also, before we move on, the GOAT has signed in NBL1 and NBL1 East too. Lauren Jackson playing for her hometown Albury-Wodonga in the stadium named after her. It's pretty amazing when at 40 years old you can come back out of retirement and play at the stadium that was named in your honour.
It's an incredible story. I cannot wait to see her lace them up. And really what it does say is, Andrew Gay is lift your game, mate. Like there is, I know he's coaching the Melbourne Tigers, but if Lauren Jackson's going to roll around and put up some decent numbers, then there's no reason that Andrew Gay just get 2 goats out running around in NBL1.
Playing coach.
No, he can do it. All he's got to do is sit in the corner.
I love that. Well, one player who's got off to a great start this season in NBL1 East is Clara Evans. She's playing for Newcastle and had a huge game at the weekend, and she joins us now. Welcome to the show, Clara Evans.
Hi, how's it going?
Great to see you. Now, you started round 1 with a bang, a huge win over Maitland. How good was it to get the victory first up?
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, Maitland's always been a rival for us. So, to get the win, it was great.
Tell us a little bit about the buzz heading into the NBL1 East season, the first time the banner of the NBL1 has taken over the New South Wales competition. What's it been like? What are you excited about?
It's been great so far. I think it's sprung like another level of professionalism here, and it's attracted more players and more experienced players from overseas and that type of thing. So I'm looking forward to it. I know the girls and the team are pretty excited as well.
Now, there's lots of family ties throughout basketball at all levels, as we know, and certainly that is the case at Newcastle, where you are coached by your mum. What is that like, and have you been coached by her previously?
My mum's coached me pretty much throughout my whole junior career, and I love having her as a coach. You would think that it would be pretty back and forth, but we don't really butt heads at all. It's sort of like she'll put me into place when I need to be put into place, sort of thing. But yeah, I love being coached by mum, and yeah, it's great. And I know the girls love it as well. So yeah.
Well, if you've been coached for a long time, what is the current tech foul record between you and your mum throughout who's leading and who has a little bit more? Is there a bit of giggles about it afterwards?
I would have to say probably mum. It's not too bad. But it's probably mum.
Well, we know what the NBL1 season is for. It's developing for making sure that you put your best foot forward. What do you want to get out of this season individually leading into the rest of your career?
Obviously, take as much as you can from it, learn from it as much as you can. You're playing against more experienced players as well, and people who have a lot more knowledge over you. So I think as well, before I go to college, I'm trying to drain as much of it as I can from people. But yeah, I think just playing against older, more experienced people who have been playing for longer periods of time, and I think just making the most of the opportunity that I've been given.
Well, you mentioned going to college, Michigan. That's a big school. It's an exciting decision. How did you come to that decision? And did you just previously watch March Madness and sit back and think, this is something I really want to be a part of sooner rather than later?
Well, I started talking to Michigan after last year's 20s Nationals. They sort of come on the scene, and, they were sort of the ones who I sort of felt I had more of a connection with. Their coaching staff is amazing. The girls there are amazing. And I think, it was just sort of something that I couldn't really pass up on. And, I did recently watch the March Madness, and they went really well. So I just thought, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and if I don't like it, I can always come back. But I think it was something that I definitely had to experience for myself.
We're just taking a look at your highlights from round one, 28 points and 13 rebounds, so a big double-double to start the season. Have you taken momentum from your season with the Sydney Flames in the WNBL into this campaign in NBL1 East, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think my season with the Sydney Flames, I was so grateful for the opportunity that I was given. And for me, it was just a big learning curve, coming out of Canberra, AIS, and playing with basically girls to now playing with women. So it was sort of a big learning curve and a big jump for me, because I wasn't really used to the physicality and how smart players were and how athletic people were. So I think, it was definitely a learning curve, having to match up on people who were quicker than me, who were taller than me, who were more physical than me. So, being able to match that with myself, and, definitely I took momentum, especially on the back end of that season where I sort of got given more of an opportunity, definitely into the NBL1 East.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because there was a big jump within the season. Of course, you were at DP to start, but by the end of the season, you were starting because Sydney had injuries and no imports by the end of their campaign. So I think there was a game against Perth where you beat the Lynx in Perth, and yourself and Katie Deeble started for Sydney, and you actually set a WNBL record for the most minutes played by DPs. So I'm sure that win over Perth was probably one of the highlights of your career to date.
Yeah, that was a crazy experience. And I remember we had a shoot around that morning, and Shane was like, you guys are starting. And we sort of looked at each other and were like, oh my God, this is crazy. At the start of the year when we had our full roster, we were just happy to be there and happy to be, suiting up, and now we're starting. So I mean, it was so surreal, and we both like enjoyed the experience. And yeah, that Perth game was. I remember when the final buzzer went off. Like I looked at Frog, we all looked at each other, and we were like we finally gotten a win. Like this is what we've been wanting, and it was against one of the top teams. So yeah, to get that win was pretty surreal.
Speaking of experience, you've come through the Centre of Excellence program. How does all that prepared you for where you're at now, and obviously when you go to college, to be able to juggle everything that being an athlete as well as, again, you're about to be a student, how to juggle all of that? How has that prepared you?
The Centre of Excellence, like that was probably I was so grateful for that. That was just an experience of a lifetime, and they do such like Bealey, Sarah, Lono, Shane, like all of the staff there. They do such an amazing job of making sure like you're ready for that transition, and with managing school. So we had study sessions. You were required to do study in your own time as well, but they sort of helped you manage your time a lot. And with like the basketball side of things, like Bealey and Sarah are just amazing. Like, you just have unlimited access to like the best coaches in Australia. There's unlimited access to facilities, doctors you can get in straight away, physios you can get in straight away. So yeah, it's just amazing, an amazing experience that, it was just so great for me.
Well, Chyra, it's been great to catch up with you on the NBL1 show. When we do catch up with our guests, Pete, we are always interested to see where we find them, because we've got people that work full-time, study. You've got one of the best backgrounds we've seen on this show's history. So where do we find you today? And is this your personal weekly rundown on the whiteboard behind you?
Well, at the moment, I'm doing a holiday camp with a bunch of kids, so a bunch of young kids from Newcastle. But no, this is the stadium, and this is like sort of the work roster, with who's at what schools and that sort of stuff. So.
Well, it sounds like you've got your hands full with school holidays, so we appreciate your time this week. Great to see you start round one in style, and all the best for the rest of your campaign.
Well, good. I appreciate it.
Great to catch up with Clara Evans. You get the feeling she's in for a big season. Well, let's head west now, Pete, and talk NBL1 West, back with a bang on Friday night. And some of the big season recruits stood up on the first night of the season.
They definitely did, and NBL1 West was exciting last season. Jill Williams for Coburn, she started the season off the right way. She came across from the Eastern Sun. She had the most assists. She had 9 assists over the weekend, getting everybody involved, and we're expecting a big season from her.
We sure are. Eleanor Hartill, Eastern Suns recruit, coming across from Joondalup. She had 19 rebounds, a huge defensive performance in a big first up win against Perth.
Brian Michaels, the name to keep an eye on, coming across from West Adelaide, had 37 points against the reigning champs, but it wasn't enough because Perry Lakes won by 2. But he is a name to keep an eye out. And so is Marshall Nelson, coming across. Had a little stint with the Cairns Taipans as an injury replacement player, so he'll be looking to have a really strong season. He had 30 points in a 6-point win, so I'm looking forward to a big season from him.
You just get the feeling he's going to be on a lot of highlights across our socials this season. Our next guest also had a great outing to start the season. He's at a new team too. His name is Jesse Ghee, and he joins us now. Welcome to the show.
How you doing?
Great to have you with us. How is life at your new team?
It's definitely different being in WA, opposed to being in Brisbane. Like when I came out here, there's not a lot of green and building. It's a bit of a change, but I'm liking it.
Tell us a bit about how you came about that decision. We know the NBL1 competition is now national, every state having that competition, have a team. Did you have other choices? Why did you head out there?
I had a couple other choices, but I think I took this choice because it was probably the best opportunity for me, just to kind of get out of the state, out of Brisbane, and just try to push for, obviously, NBL looks. So I think this is probably the best situation for me to come out here. So, yeah.
Well, we know we've seen that pathway with the NBL1 towards the NBL. So what do you want to use out of this year? What do you want to develop on to put your name forward?
Just to show just my game and how I am just being a leader with the young ones here, and then just to keep developing everybody, and yeah.
Well, your game was on point in round one. You had 27 points and in a 90-74 win over Lakeside. What were you impressed about from a team perspective in round one?
Well, we didn't actually have any preseason games. That was probably our first game we played. So there was a lot of things we had to figure out and just sort out as a young team. But I think we pulled together pretty well. This next week we actually have a bye week. So I guess this Lakeside game that we played was kind of like a preseason game that we could use. So going into the next couple of weeks in the future, obviously, we can build on that with practices and everything. So. Yeah.
Now, it is very early in the season, but this year, touching wood, crossing fingers, we're going to get our national playoff at the end of the season. Every every competition's going to have those teams. What do you look forward to about knowing the NBL1 is that truly national competition where you get to go against some of the best players in the country for exactly what you said, both development, but as a team, a chance to hold up a trophy saying you're the best team in Australia?
Oh, I love it. I love the challenge. And, I mean, like I said, we have a young team. So obviously going against experienced guys, whether that's in the North or the West or wherever, we like to take on the challenge, and I love it. So I'm excited, and I just want to see how far we can push as a team, as a young core.
So much talent in NBL1 West. Are there any particular matchups that you're looking forward to? Any players that you're looking forward to going head to head with?
I don't really I don't really know much players out here, to be honest. I'm not too familiar, but I just take it how it comes. Like whoever we have each night, I'm just looking to get the win. So
we know you had that college experience over in the States. How was that overall, and how do you think that's prepared you for this next step in your career?
Definitely, it definitely prepared me a lot. Just the mentality and how I view the game nowadays, and coming back and just more competitive, I guess. But yeah, just looking to push towards the next level with that experience. Yeah.
So a win in round one, but then the bye. What does the weekend look like ahead? Do you have practice? And then how are you going to try and get that momentum back for the next game?
Yeah, that's tough. We have practices. Try to stay locked in, but I know a lot of us boys are going to be with the fam. I'm probably going to be with some of my teammates, but we're just going to get right back into it. And I know we have a doubleheader the following weekend, so try to stay locked in for that.
Well, you're over there in the West, so you talk about the NBL. The Wildcats going to potentially be making a finals run. You're keeping an eye on the NBL games. Have you been impressed with how that's grown as well over the course of the last few years?
Yeah. No, I was actually wanting to catch an NBL, like a Perth game while I was here. But I'm just kind of keeping a lookout while I'm here, so yeah.
Well, hopefully you're looking very closely, because I'm sure that would be the goal, to hopefully get in the NBL perhaps next season or beyond. But in the meantime, it's been great to catch up with you. Congratulations on round one, and hopefully you can get that momentum back ahead of the doubleheader next week, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, guys.
Great to catch up with Jesse Ghee, a big season ahead out west. Let's go Central now, Pete, and there were some huge performances to launch round one. 5 30-plus point performances, in fact.
There has been. We've got some new recruits, but some familiar names from last year. Splash, Ashley Spencer, 34 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. This is just a weekly thing. We've said her name once. Let's count how many times we end up talking about Splash this year.
Yeah, we might need a whiteboard like Chyra's just to mark it off. And then Demi Skinner, coming off a WNBL season with the Bendigo Spirit. She's a new recruit for the Southern Tigers, filling the void of Tage Morrell, who's gone west. And Demi had 30 points and 7 rebounds to get things going.
Another one of our guests from last year, fan favourite, Morgan Yeager, had 35, 8 and 7. So knocking on the door of a triple-double, and she's expecting to have a big season. Started the right way.
Highlights machine, I think he put them up at the weekend. Ray Harding from Norwood, 32 points, 3 rebounds. If you haven't seen that highlight, here you go, and it's on all our socials as well.
Well, he's going to be an exciting one to watch, and to round that out, another performance of a familiar name over the last few seasons in NBL1 Central, Alex Starling for South Adelaide, 34 points, 21 rebounds, a couple of assists, 4 steals in an overtime win against Nord. It was Todd Davies who had the game winner, but there is that dunk we were talking about. This was an exciting game in overtime, but Alex Starling always puts up some big numbers, and I'm sure we'll be talking about him a lot more this season.
Going to be so many many big numbers across the board in NBL1 Central, which was the case last season. Can't wait to see what that conference produces for us in 2022. Now let's take a look at the conferences that are ahead. So NBL1 South is tipping off next week. So the long weekend for Anzac Day weekend. So can't wait for that. We had the NBL1 South Blitz at the weekend just gone. So things are heating up there.
Well, they are, yes. A lot of exciting talent there. So that'll be next week. And then NBL1 North will be the week after, which, as we said, by then a couple more NBL players will have touched down. WNBL players getting ready to roll. And it's going to get really exciting from here.
Now, you can get your mitts and your eyes all over NBL1 this season. Pete, where can you do so?
Well, you can watch all games live and free at nbl1.com.au and in the brand new NBL1 app, so jump on board that, except for the games of the week, which are live and free, exclusive to KO freebies, and there'll be some really exciting things to watch. What better way to get your NBL1 fix?
Seriously, what a treat. And make sure you also follow your favourite conferences at their brand new social media channels. We're going to have all the action for you right through the weekends, and then we'll be here with you every week. So we can't wait to bring all the highlights and all the big guests your way. We'll see you next week. Pete, happy Easter. If you celebrate it, of course. If you don't, have a great long weekend anyway, and we can't wait to be back with you next week.
Yeah, I was building on a lecture. Verses coming daily under pressure.